Good morning. I'm happy to be here. Matt and I love coming to your church. It's such a sweet place, and we love Pastor Mark and Lisa. They're dear friends of ours, and I feel special today that I get to be with my mama. I was asking her this morning, how many years has it been since we've had Mother's Day together? I think like at least 15, could be more. Anyway, so it's special. Y'all get to be a part of this fun thing. Okay, but I'm also excited to be in a place of some humidity and some green and some hills and some trees, which give me big hair because I come from the land of dry and crusty and brown and crunchy. And we love Amarillo. It is our home. But when we come to a place like this and we get to be in the humid air, you may just see this thing continue to rise up the longer that I'm in here. So enjoy the show. I don't know. But yes, I am a mama myself. And so before I move on, I just want to say thank you to you mamas and honor you. You do hard work. You do work that gets unnoticed. A lot of times there's so many details, things that you pull off that no one will ever know. Lunches, meals, things you run up to the school, phone calls, texts that you make, Venmoing your kids, Venmoing people for your kids. You do a lot. And just know that people may not see it, but God knows every single thing that you're doing. And it's super important work that you're doing, and it's also hard work. So I have 3 teenagers. Matt and I have been married almost 20 years. We have an 18-year-old who's about to graduate high school. We have a 16-year-old, and we have a 14-year-old. So needless to say, it is fun at our house. 3 teenagers keeps us on our toes. There's a lot of development happening in our home, a lot of conversations happening in our home. So I'm in the playing field with you. But I thought it might be fun if I told you a mom blooper of my own life, because sometimes you might see a person up here and think, oh, she's a pastor's wife, she's a therapist. I am a human. So the little story I'm going to tell you kind of became the one that kind of won, because I have several, but this is the one that, as Matt and I talked about, I was like, yeah, I think you should tell this one. So I wish I could hear all your mom bloopers after the service, because I love hearing all that stuff, but here's mine. So when Hannah was a little, maybe 18 months to 20 months, we had Connor, and he was about 2 months old at that point, and we were at Walmart. And so I was a stay-at-home mom for several years and got to be at home and raise the kids before I became a counselor. And so I'm pushing this big old cart with all these groceries and the children in the cart as well, because I got to keep everything contained. So I'm going down the aisle, and all of a sudden my son needs a diaper change. Okay, so now we take all the cart, everything, we make the haul to the front of the store, to the restrooms, and unload, park the buggy there, unload, go in the restroom, and here I have Hannah, but okay, I've got to change this little boy's diaper, and you know the strategy it takes to change a little boy's diaper and it be successful. So I'm focusing on changing his diaper, and all of a sudden I don't know where Hannah went. I mean, I know she's in the bathroom, but I'm not real sure where in the bathroom. And so I'm looking around for her, and okay, she comes around the corner from inside a stall, and she's chewing something. And I'm thinking, oh my God. My kid's chewing something from the floor of the bathroom in Walmart. I mean, it was really bad. And so, of course, she does not speak English, right? So I keep the safety hand on the baby, because I learned the hard way, if you don't do that. Keep the safety hand on the baby and bend down and talk to the child about, baby girl, what's that? What's that in your mouth, baby? Well, when words don't come out, you use your other senses. And so the smell was telling me the child had eaten a saltine cracker. So my daughter, I'm here to confess, my daughter ate a saltine cracker off of the floor of Walmart, and she is alive. So if you have messed up or you're scared of messing up, your child will make it, because I can't think of one thing dirtier for your kid to eat. Oh Lord, what if that had happened after COVID with germs and the way we think about germs now? But she's alive, and she's graduating in a couple of weeks. So there you go. Okay, there's my blooper. Okay, but I think you kind of have to have a sense of humor with parenting, because it's really, really tough. It's hard. There's needs that rise up all the time. And if we were to think about the world in which we're parenting our children, or if you want to like just even generalize that, the world you're leading your businesses in, being married in, being alive in this world in this day, it's tough. It's not like the world that we grew up in. In fact, I would almost say it's not like the world pre-COVID. So many things have drastically changed in the last few years that have impacted us on a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual level. And when I'm with my clients every day, I hear them say things like, I'm just not built for this, Amy. I cannot do this. When is this gonna stop? When are things gonna change? When are things gonna go back to normal? When am I gonna have joy again? All I can do is get high every day to get through this. And so the problems that we're facing right now in our world and the attack on godly Christian values, the family, gender, life, these things aren't new to our world, but the scale of them is new. The weight and the magnitude of these problems coming at us, I'm not sure that we've ever seen this kind of environment before. So we're gonna talk today about being in a storm and what it's like. So I want you to kind of get a mental visual of what a storm is like, and we're gonna kind of build on that visual all morning as we're working through our text, okay? So think about it. When you're in a storm, it's dark, you're in the water, the waves are hitting you, and maybe it is unrelenting. So like these things just keep pounding you and you don't necessarily have the ability to get them to stop. You can't change the situation. Maybe you don't know is exactly where you're going like you used to. Maybe you don't know if you're gonna get to the destination like you'd planned on getting to it. Think about the boat that you're in. Think about how your skin's gonna feel. You're cold. You're trying to get to places on the boat and it's slippery. It doesn't function like it used to function without the storm. Knobs or whatever there is on a boat. I mean, the way that you're gonna be working that process is gonna be different in a storm because there's something just pounding and pounding and pounding and you can't get it to quit. And think about the fear involved in that. The fear involved in not knowing when something is going to end. Not knowing when good news is gonna come around. Not knowing when there's gonna be some relief, some sunshine, some still. That's the picture I want you to have in your mind as we're walking through this text today, because I believe that we're living in a time that's pretty stormy. And it's really hard for us as Christians to know how to walk this thing out. So there's a story that I think represents this pretty well, and that's out of Matthew 8:23 through 26. Now when he got into a boat, his disciples followed him. And suddenly a great tempest arose on the sea, so that the boat was covered with waves. But he was asleep. When his disciples came to him and awoke him, saying, "Lord, save us, we are perishing." But he said to them, "Why are you fearful, O you of little faith?" Then he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. A few things I want you to know. Did you know that the most dangerous ship in a storm is an empty one? Okay, and the momentum and weight, here we go. The momentum and weight of pointing the ship into a wave, I wanna get this right, is what keeps the ship afloat. So, cause see, I had to research this because in Amarillo, where it's dry and crusty and brown, we don't have use for boats. So I don't have personal experience with, being a skipper. So I did some research on it. So I gotta make sure I get the research right. So I want us to wrap our head around this specifically. The momentum and weight of pointing the ship a certain way into the waves is what keeps the ship afloat, okay? To win the battle with the sea depends on how well the ship is maintained and the experience and navigation of the crew. And it's necessary that a boat stay aware of the instruments and know when to use their anchor. Okay, so let me teach you a little bit about the brain, because I'm a counselor and I obsess it. I obsess how it works, how how we have to learn about it, how we can use it, because God gave us our brain to work this way. And if we understand that, we can have a lot of victory. So in trauma, in stress, in conflict, your brain is going to act differently on you than it does in an okay day, than it does in a great conversation, okay? Because what happens is the brain runs on these neuro pathways, these like freeways, these highways. And when there's trauma, conflict, or stress, the brain is going to try to alleviate it as quickly as possible. The brain is going to try to get you out of that scenario, that feeling, that pressure, that situation as quickly as possible, even if it's productive or not. This is called the midbrain. So the midbrain, it's also called the limbic system. It's in your brain, and it is fight or flight. This is what keeps you alive. Okay, God gave us this piece of the brain to keep us alive so that, here's an example. You're driving down the highway, you're just clipping 70 miles an hour, and a car starts getting in your lane and you swerve out of the way. That's the activity of the midbrain. That's how it saves your life. You're not driving in your car thinking, I wonder how close they're getting. Okay, maybe they're getting about 6 inches closer. I wonder if I should move out of the way. Yes, I'm gonna move out of the way. And then you move out of the way. You don't do that, okay? You react because the midbrain is there to save our life, okay? But here's the deal. When the midbrain is chronically firing off, chronically being used in relationships, being used in parenting, being used in marriage, being used in your comings and goings of life, when the midbrain is chronically firing off, you are gonna get jammed up. Okay, because that's not the piece of the brain that we want to use in order to make great decisions, to know cause and effect of things. Okay, that piece of the brain is called the prefrontal cortex. Stay with me. Prefrontal cortex, it's right here. It's high executive functioning, big picture, cause and effect. We have to get in that part of our thinking, especially in this time. So as we go through this text and we talk about the storm, we're gonna apply, the mind versus the brain. We're gonna get real aware because a lot of times people don't differentiate between the mind and the brain, okay? They're two different things. Very plainly put, we could set the brain right here, okay? You can do brain surgery. There are brain doctors. Okay, we do research on the brain. It's a physical organ we can set right here. You can't set the mind right here. And if you're in Christ, the Bible says you have the mind of Christ, which means you have his ability to navigate through things and make decisions. And so we have to tap into Jesus and the mind that he has given us, the power that we have in our thoughts because of Jesus, instead of just reacting in the storm, which is what your brain wants you to do, okay? So we'll apply this to parenting as well, but again, you can apply this, generally speaking, to any area of your life. Okay, and so, since there are changes in our culture that create stormy waters for us to navigate, we have to believe that Jesus has a way for us to be who we want to be and who he made us to be. Okay, so the first thing for you to realize is you have a boat. When you're going through a storm, you have a boat. In each of these things that I'm gonna bring to you today, I'm gonna pull out something that's comforting about it, but as well as like a responsibility, like a charge for you, a call to action, like what you're responsible for because of this comfort, okay? So the comfort is that even in a storm, you have a boat. The disciples had a boat, and we want to start changing our mindset here, okay? So instead of our brain just staring at these scary waves, staring at the news, staring at the things coming against us, staring at all of the pressure and the pounding that maybe our values are getting or our children are getting in school or the pressure of everything, it's time that we look at it with our mind, the mind of Christ, and we stop looking at the waves and we look at our boat. Okay, so Jesus loaded up all the disciples and he got in the boat with them and he put them on the water. So the boat is fundamental. So you're not drowning, you're not dog paddling, you don't have a kayak, you're not in a little inner tube, you are in a boat. And this boat was made to be on the water. This boat was made to be able to withstand waves and storms and wind. It is a flotation device. You can rest in the comfort of that you have a boat. Okay, but there is responsibility to that. So the responsibility in that is, okay, we're in this this simple thing. Jesus put the disciples in the boat. It's simple. It's a fundamental thing to get there. They didn't go sit in the boat to go eat lunch. They sat in the boat to go somewhere. They went a certain direction on purpose. Okay, so our boat are our values. These are the non-negotiable, they must be non-negotiable values. If they're not non-negotiable, you will negotiate your way out of them. These values are what you will care about, what you want to live your life being about. And it transcends the life stage. No matter where you live, no matter what you do, no matter how many people are living in your home, these will be the values that you hold. And these allow you to make decisions moving in the direction that you want to go. When we make value-based decisions, it propels us no matter how slow, and it allows us to point into the wave and go in the correct direction that we desire to go in. But here's the deal about our values, just like a boat. They must be determined before the storm. You cannot be in the middle of an ocean in a storm building a boat. Clearly, it's impossible. It's not gonna work. Think about it. Put the picture back in your head. You're in the waves. You're literally like trying to screw in boat pieces. It's not gonna work. Everything's gonna go flying. There's gonna be total chaos. So the boat is constructed before it ever hits the water, okay? And it's tested, okay? And so your values are going to get formed before the storm, because this is what takes you through this. And so as you're on the front end, before you're in a storm, you think about, man, what do I care about? What do I want to give my life to? What do I want to anchor me and take me through things? That's my why. That's the fundamentals of who I am as a person. So the non-negotiable values for Matt and I have been probably the biggest thing for us in our marriage, in our parenting, and in our life. I mean, there's decisions to make all the time, and we made our non-negotiable values 20 years ago. We really didn't even know what we were doing. We were driving down I-20 in his truck and had a scratch sheet of paper in the truck, and we're writing down what was important to us. To this day, those are the values that we live by. If we look at these values, they will help us say no or yes. And these are value-based decisions. So in parenting, it is so helpful to have something to fall back on as to why am I saying no or yes? It has to be something bigger. Here's an example. Some of our values are God, marriage, family, giving, serving, health, hobbies, exercise. Okay, so they're not like overly spiritual all the time, okay? But they are the values that shape who we want to be and the direction that we want to go. So if those are my values, and let's say that I'm in the grocery store, okay? It's literally the only place I ever go besides work in the church is United. And so let's say I'm in the produce section at United, and there's a gentleman there, and he's giving me some attention that makes me uncomfortable. Maybe it's inappropriate. Well, if I see the scenario, and in my head, I'm holding up my values next to it, it is a no-brainer what I do in that moment, isn't it? God, marriage, family, no. And I move on. So this is how your values come into play in the produce section at United. You make thousands of decisions every single day. What are they about? What are they tied to? Is there a foundation, a fundamental element to why you do what you do? Another example of values, in fact, where Matt and I got outside of our values, we had a child who was doing an activity. And it began to stress us financially and our time, our calendar. And we were talking, we're like, what's going on? Why are we feeling this stress? I mean, we feel like our life's in order. What's the deal? And as we began to look at our life, our money, our calendar, and our talents, which are the things you're gonna put into your values, as we began to look at that, we're like, oh, here's our values. But for our family, our kids' activities are not a value. So we were living outside of our values, and it was causing us a lack of peace. So we brought that before the Lord and we prayed about it, and we were able to course correct and get back into our values, and we felt that peace that's there. So it's important that you let your values guide you, because it's going to be a stabilizing thing for you. And as parents, as we talk to our children about why we say yes or why we say no, it's not to like prove your authority in your parenting. It's actually to transfer your values to them. And as you talk to them, baby, we just don't do that because we value God, or we value the family. And so this is why we're making this decision. And you talk through it and it's based on your values, you will earn some credibility with your child, because you're not saying no just because it's fun. You're transferring your values to them, and there is a deep, fundamental reason why we're saying no. And so then you're also teaching them how to make decisions too, based on their values. So what kind of counselor would I be if I did not give you homework? Okay, well, I'm going to give you homework. So what your homework is I want you to go away from here, and I want you to take a week, and I want you to pray about what are your non-negotiable values. Look at your life. You're probably already living in some of them. Don't overthink it. What's important to you? Who do you want to be about? Okay, write them down. But here's the thing, you need to memorize them, because you take them with you wherever you go. And in any moment that comes up, if your kid's asking to do something, if a coworker's asking you to do something, if something comes up, you need to be able to have those right here in your mind and be able to answer based on your values. You probably won't have time to pull out a piece of paper and read through it, so memorize them. The second point is that you're not alone in your boat. Jesus put a group of people and himself in the boat for them to go and essentially get in the storm. So you're not alone in your boat. And the comfort of this is that you have people in your life that want to partner with you, that want to link with you, that want to be there for you. And sometimes we got to look at them and not the waves. Sometimes we need to listen to their encouragement. We need to listen to their prayers. We need to listen to their wisdom. If you're having a hard time parenting, connect with somebody who's further down the road than you are. Ask them what they did. Ask them to just normalize it for you. Like, oh my gosh, will I be okay? And they can help comfort you and say, yes, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna make it through this. But when we're in this headspace, remember, your brain wants to just look at all the problems and figure out, how do we fix this? How do we fix that? The brain is geared for looking at that. And as we look at use our mind, the mind of Christ, we're going to slow it down. And we're gonna really look at who's in our boat. And as you talk to people, it kind of requires some vulnerability. Because see, God wired us for relationship in our brains. We're literally wired for it. We need it. I need what other people bring and put in my life. I need their encouragement. I need their hope. I need their prayers. I need their hugs. I need them to check in on me. And so if you feel a little bit frustrated with life, I wonder if it's because you're not real connected. If you're not real linked up with people, because God made you to connect and then experience the satisfaction and the fulfillment of being part of the body. Okay, but there's a responsibility in that too. So the people in your boat need to be like-minded. They need to be going in the same direction as you. They need to have some similar values as you. Let's go back to our stormy picture, and you're on a boat, and it's crazy, right? I mean, put the darkness in there again. Put the fear, the stress, the water, the intensity of the moment. But now you have 3 people wanting to do all sorts of strategies at the same time. Think about the chaos that brings. It's pretty unnecessary because you're already in a hard thing. We need people in our boat that are going the same direction, because that helps us. It gives us confidence. It also affirms our values that we've established for ourselves. And these may be people that have traveled this before, like we were talking about earlier with parenting. Proverbs 11:14 says, when there is no guidance, a people falls, but in abundance of counselors, there is safety. So as we become vulnerable with other people in our boat, we begin to get strengthened, because it would be a very intentional step for you to take to not look at the waves, but to look at your friend, to look at them in the eyes, for them to tell you, you're gonna be okay. I'm here for you. Call me if you need me. I'm not forgetting about you. I'm not forgetting about what you need. I'm here for you. I've been there. I know it's tough. The strength that builds in you. There have been times that Matt and I have gone through in our life that have been so hard and stressful that our friends have literally thrown us on their backs and carried us for months. I know they have emotionally. I know that they have girded themselves in what we're in and linked up with us and carried us. And without it, where would we be? Where would we be without relationship with one another? So I want to encourage you to really be chewing on that. But the other person who's in the boat, who quite frankly is the most important, who? Jesus. Jesus is in that boat. And so not only did he put the disciples in the boat, but he got in the boat, okay? He also took a nap in the boat. Like, these boats weren't big. They weren't, yachts with like quarters, with doors and cute curtains that you pull aside and look out and have privacy. I mean, he was like on that end. So I'm sure he was wet, right? I'm sure he was getting thrown around everywhere, but he was asleep. And the disciples, at first, to me, as I'm reading the story, it's almost like at first they forgot he was in the boat. How many times have we done that? Y'all, I'm so guilty of like going through storm and forgetting he's not far. He's not in his other quarters. He's literally on the other end of the boat. I mean, he's right there. He's in the boat too, but we forget about it. Why? We're looking at the waves. We're looking at all the circumstances. We're looking at all the context, and we're forgetting about the gifts that we have in the moment with the boat and the people with us, but Jesus. Sometimes when I think about Jesus, man, I'm in worship over here, and it's the second service that I've done this, and I thought in the first service, sure, I'm gonna cry some in worship. That's what I do. Second service, I'll be fine. I know all the songs they're doing. No, I'm not. I still feel all this because it's about Jesus. And he is so wonderful, and he is here, and he's in your boat. And if he is in your boat, it is all gonna be okay. It is all gonna be okay. So the last thing I want you to understand is that the boat has an anchor. The boat has an anchor. Now again, I'm not versed on boating terminology, vocabulary. You ask me counseling stuff, I'm just gonna tell you all the stuff. Boating, it's like a knob, a rope, I don't know. Okay, you have an anchor, and it's not like on the dock or the pier. It's in the boat, which is a big deal. But we have to use it, right? I mean, we can't just look at the boat and the anchor and just see it over there. So you have an anchor. Hebrews 6:19, this hope is a strong and trustworthy anchor for our souls. It leads us through the curtain into God's inner sanctuary, even in a storm, Amy. Wow, that's like supernatural, right? That we could go into God's inner sanctuary, even in a scary time, in a testing time. The answer is yes. And what a comfort that is. But we do have a responsibility to use it. We have to see that it's there, and we have to use it. What does this mean? Okay, maybe we gotta go, Jesus, the disciples went and woke him up, right? Do you ever come to Jesus with that kind of, do you ever go to Jesus with that kind of desperation, with that kind of need? Like, oh my gosh, Jesus, and just you're vulnerable and you're waking him up as if he doesn't know, right? Oh, he knows, but maybe there's something in that for us to see. Jesus wants us to come to him in that desperate place. He wants us to come to him intense. He wants us to come to him vulnerable. He wants us to come to him dire and seeing him as the way, as the truth, as the light to get through this storm, because he is all available to us. And so how do you do this? How do you look to Jesus instead of the waves? Get in his word. Very simply, just start getting in his word. Chew on it. Meditate on it. What does that look like? It looks like, okay, I will hope. You don't lead the righteous to shame. The path of the righteous gets brighter and brighter to the noonday. That's what I'm looking at today. You never leave me. You never forsake me. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. That is all I'm looking at. That is you. That is you, Jesus. You are with me. For the word of God is alive and powerful. It is sharper than the sharpest two-edged sword, cutting between soul and spirit, joint and marrow. It exposes our innermost thoughts and desires. And as we go to him, as we pour out, as we're vulnerable to him, as we go to him, like we're having to wake him up and bring him into our story, do you know what happens? He does his thing. He went to the waves and he said, peace be still, and it was calm. What do you think happened to the disciples? They woke up. So when Jesus acted, the disciples woke up. When Jesus acted, when they looked at him, when they went to him, when he met their need, guess what happened to them? They were changed. They knew who this anchor was now more than before, because he had just provided for them. He had just made a way for them. He had just called peace to this storm that they were experiencing, and they looked at him, I'm sure, in total awe. Like, whoa, who is this man? That is a trip. Do you see what he just did? I've never known anybody to do that. Think about that. Think about what he can do for you when you go to him with that dire need, like you are waking him up and you are bringing him into your story. Everything inside of you, every fiber, every vulnerable emotion, every thought, your brain is now not driving the ship. Right? Your brain has been set aside and you are using the mind, and your spirit is waking up. And it is so important, as we are in a time of storm, that we are not just staring at the waves and reacting to whatever pressures that we feel, to whatever new things are coming about, but we are able to gird in to what our values are. But we look at Jesus. And one of the main reasons why we want to do this, it says in Hebrews 2:1, so we must listen very carefully to the truth we have heard, or we may drift away from it. So let's think about a storm. The waves, force, right? Strong. They will push you unless we drop anchor. When we drop anchor in a storm, we stay put. Okay? Drifting is not abrupt. It is not fast. It is a very slow motion that you can't even tell is going on. And we want to be careful that we don't do that, especially in a time like this. So more than anything today, I want you to see yourself as empowered. I want you to see yourself as capable and adequate to get through the day in which God decided for you to live on the earth. He chose now. It wasn't a mistake, and he knew the storm. Just like when Jesus put the disciples in the boat, he knew. He knew you were going to be here at this day and at this time on the earth. And he's happy about it because he has a plan, and he knows that you are capable to get through the storm. And he also tells us in the New Testament, and I just love this, to put us at ease. He says, hey, in this world, you're going to have trial, but take heart. I've overcome the world. And do you know? Yes, Jesus. Do you know that take heart? I looked it up and I had so much joy in looking it up. Take heart means bold, confident courage. Because of Jesus, y'all. Because of Jesus. We don't have to shrink away. We don't have to be scared. Of course, it's a human emotion. Of course, we're all going to feel that way. But when we get in the mind of Christ, we can have bold, confident courage because we're in a boat. We have people with us on the journey, and Jesus is there with us too. And so I just want to encourage you. You can be confident and have courage in this time. there is a couple of groups of people that I do want to pray for real quickly before I close. So I don't know if you would just bow your head and close your eyes for me real quick. I just want you to think about your life. Think about your boat. What would these waves represent for you? What's the pounding? What topics are getting pounded for you? Is it localized in your home, in your cities? Is it more of a generalized pounding that you feel with the state of our world or country that produces a heaviness for you, a sense of feeling lost? I just want you to look at your life. And the two people I want to pray for, the first one is the people who feel alone, that there's nobody in your boat. And the second group of people I want to pray for are the people who feel lost, like you're off course. So God, I thank you for these precious souls and your love for them. How you are not asleep. Man, you see every single thing that's pounding them. And you know that you are the answer and that they are capable of getting through it. And God, I ask that if there's anybody feeling alone, you would show them who to add to their boat, highlight them. I pray that it would be a special thing that you do with them to show them who you have to walk with them. That they would feel their boat, and within 3 to 6 months, they would feel supported and connected and held. God, I pray for those who feel lost, like they don't know where to go. They don't know how to navigate. They don't know where to point their boat. They don't know how to make maybe decisions right now that are based on you or bringing glory and honor to you, God. I pray that you would show them the way. I pray that you would chart their map for them, that they would take a step, they would have faith, they would believe that you're there for them, that you're watching over them, that you're in the boat no matter how stormy that it gets. You don't leave us or forsake us no matter how lost we feel. There is a comfort in you, Jesus, and we love you so much. Amen. Thank you guys for letting me be here on Mother's Day.